PM, calling the Lakeville Board of Health meeting to order. Is there anyone recording this other than the Board of Health and Lake Cam? I see no one. For the record, Robert Palucci is not present. First on the agenda, we're just going to discuss the coronavirus update with the town. We'll refer to our health agent, Edward Cohen.
Just a quick update on the number of cases, number of confirmed cases recently as of today. There are 256 cases in Massachusetts, with 5 of those being in Plymouth County. We ask everyone to abide by social distancing protocol where you try to stay 6 feet apart, try to avoid large gatherings, and try to use hand sanitizer or wash your hands as frequently as possible. Although the number is 256 of confirmed cases, this is only the amount of confirmed cases. The number of actual cases is probably much larger than that. So we are trying to be as vigilant as possible and try to reduce the number as time goes on. For more information on this, I asked you to either dial 211, which is the Massachusetts call for information on coronavirus, or as well as their website, which is www.mass.gov/2019 coronavirus. Both of those are very good information, especially the website. You'll have links to the CDC website, and pretty much anything you need to know, you'll be able to find it there about coronavirus. That's all. Thanks.
Okay. Just add one thing, that the town website has information too, and if
Correct.
and also any updates on anything town related, you can go to the town website and sign up with your email address, and you can get notifications on anything, including what's going on town related with the coronavirus also.
And if you didn't get what the website I said, you can go to the town website, and there are links to that there, so you can use that as well.
Okay, I believe I had a couple questions, calls today on what to do if you have a fever and you're not feeling good, and what to do. So they said, obviously call your doctor is number one. Don't go there, call the doctor. And if you're sick, you're not feeling good, and you have a temperature, do not go to work or leave your work, and please notify your employer that you're not feeling well and you're leaving because of that. Anything else on that, Town Council?
No, I think that covers it. There are various states of emergency, both in the town and at the state and federal level, which afford the Board of Health, the Board of Selectmen, and various town officials the authority to take actions to protect public health at this time. Some of those include mandatory closures of public spaces and schools. And if there are any other questions in that regard, we at Town Council are available to assist in that regard.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, 23rd Ave, meet with Foresight Engineering to discuss local upgrade requests.
Evening, Darren Michaelis, Foresight Engineering, on behalf of the property owner. So this is a conversion to a year-round house. I had an existing cesspool in the backyard by the tree in the shed. You can see where the plumbing came out of the house on that corner. We're proposing to replumb under the house. It's just a crawl space. There's plenty of room to get the plumbing to the other side. We'll put the tanks in kind of the parking area. It needs a pump due to the high water table. And we push the system as close as I feel safe going to the property lines, 7 feet from all the property lines. We've got walls on 2 sides, so the system maximum height is 3 feet in the very corner. Right where that 59 contour kind of comes in, there's like a little hole right there. So that'll be 3 feet right there at that corner, then everything else tapers down to nothing in both directions. It's a raised system. They'll basically walk off that deck on the back of the house now and walk right onto their backyard. It's about 2.5 feet higher than the yard is now. There's really no other options with these lots. They're 60 by 90, trying to fit a full year-round system on them. Basically, most of these sites were pushed in. As you can see, there's 2.5 feet of fill. And then once you get through the fill, that's right where the water's riding on top of the natural soil. Even right now, where the water table's not even at its highest, we had water right there pouring in the hole. you know, I'm not even able to dig really a perk hole at all, so. You can see on the lot to the north of us, they pretty much got the same type of deal, surrounded by concrete blocks on 4 sides on their lot. At 15 Fourth Ave, and most of the surrounding houses around us either have tight tanks at this point or have upgraded their systems already.
What, is there a crawl space, dirt crawl space?
Dirt
Is it-
crawl space, so the house is basically sitting on blocks.
Okay.
And then support beam in the middle of
Is
the
there
house.
a pump in the basement to pump any water that's running in there in the dirt, or just
Nope,
kind of?
there's
just
no
dirt?
water. Yeah, believe it or not, it's bone dry in the basement.
In the
The house is built up high enough, that basically, by the time you get to the low side where the tanks are, you're 2 feet above grade with the top foundation. So the ground slopes underneath the house.
Yeah, cause obviously now you're directing all the water right into the house at 62 over your system.
Yep, we're gonna try and get it to go right down the driveway. We're
61.3 with top of foundation,
Yep,
so everything's now gonna go right into that basement.
yep, we're directing it down that driveway. That's our plan, is to get it to go down the driveway out to the roadway area.
Why were you looking for the reduction, the separation of water?
Just cause it's, be a 4-foot wall there instead of a 3-foot wall, and it just makes the property a little more usable, rather than being, like Derek said, another foot above top of foundation. With the yard, then I might need a wall on that 3rd side also, and then they might not be able to get into the shed that's there on that concrete slab. There's no wells near us.
No, I just think about the water though. Like you even said, there was the water tables pouring in and it's
Yep.
not even at its highest.
Yep.
Now, I thought with the SIB, you weren't even an option of granting a variance 4 to 3. Is that not true?
No, you're still
You
up to the
can?
variance, yep.
Okay. I guess the only other question I have with that variance for the water table is the same one I think I brought up before. Looking at the plan, your top of perk is at 59, so you're assuming models at 30 inches from 59. But the whole other end of the system where the D-box is at 60. You're already a foot higher, so if that model stayed the same going up at 30 inches, you're already gonna be 30 inches from 60 inches at half the system is where the water's gonna be coming in.
That 60 is really only there because of the deck that's there, Derek. That 60 really does cut almost in front of the shed. The way, it's hard to see, but there's literally a deck that goes out over the D-box area right now that I located, and it's kind of built up. It basically covers the whole front half of the system. They're gonna be ripping that whole deck right out. It goes right to the shed and comes to the 2nd chamber almost, and then goes back to the house. So I think that kind of
Hard to see
skews the
those
contour
lines.
a little bit. That 60 should really just ride up near the house almost. And you can see where it comes out the front corner of the house in the front.
Yeah.
You know, that's the true 60, should probably match that on the back, if I was to guess. So I don't really think the system's over a 60, I think it's just where the deck was shot.
Okay.
As you can see, the 61's way over on the other side of the
Yeah,
property
behind the
line.
deck.
And I took shots all the way up and got all those fence lines, so I know those contours are accurate.
Because like I said, if the ground's any
Yep.
higher there, obviously that model's.
No,
gonna
I
be
agree,
30
now that I
inches,
look
and
at it,
I don't
that-
wanna,
Yeah, I don't think
I
that's 60.
brought it up on another one
Yeah.
that somebody, and I.
I don't
didn't
think we're
agree
actually
with it.
over the 60, at best we're over like 59.7 right there, or 59.8, a few inches.
You could confirm it at open hole too. and
Yeah,
make adjustments.
it's gonna be pretty evident when we do open hole, we can take another shot where we have it, if we see it higher up the hill.
I know, Edward, I believe you had your comments on it, as feeling that one wasn't a hardship, because seeing it's a pump system,
Yep.
the variance on that one.
Yeah, I think the other ones are very legitimate. He really just has no place else to put the tanks in the field, and he's doing the best he can. He's even pushing it as far away from the Zone 1 and the Zone A as he can, so I think he's making every effort there. But, yeah, my question was the same as Chris's about, why the foot reduction? I mean.
Yeah, we
you have a
basically
pump
need a
system.
catacomb then, we need a
You need a
we
four-sided
need the same
wall.
thing as what they did next door, we'd have a 4-sided wall, so a lot more expense, of course, for the system, and it would be a foot higher, which now makes that backyard almost unusable, at least as it is now. They can walk off that deck if they grade it properly, and they'll be standing in their yard, rather than having to step up over a wall now.
But do you have to raise it a foot higher, though? I mean, because your breakout's at 60.5, right? So as long as you're Well, as long as your liner and, like, so if your liner is at 60.6,
Well,
right?
yeah, if you don't give me the variance, then I have to pick everything up a foot, so now I'm at 63 over the system. instead of
That's minimum
62.
cover?
Yeah. I've got everything minimum on these, and I would use the low profile, but I don't like them, so.
I was just gonna say.
I'm with you. Yeah, I wouldn't even recommend
Minimum
them.
cover is 61.5 right now, and so you.
Yeah, but then over the D box, I need a 62.
Right.
By the time you get to that D box, maybe a 61.8, but if I go up to 62.8, now I'm above top of foundation, now I have walls all around it, all four sides.
No, right, I don't disagree with that, because there's no way you can let all that go to the house without a four-sided wall if you go a foot
Yeah,
high.
all these, just so you know, this whole neighborhood is gonna be all in the same situation. This is probably the worst end of the area, this and Shore Ave.
That's,
That's
I
another.
mean, that's why I look at it, like, I know the water issues down there.
Yep.
And.
And that's the thing, is if we could get some of these to do at the same time and grade them together and not have all these walls, cause now what we're gonna end up with is walls 2 feet apart, and you're gonna have all these holes that are just gonna have puddles in them most of the time, and, you know, mosquito nests, I don't know what else to do, but,
And I know we don't grant a lot of variances to groundwater.
yep.
We have, they've offered a treatment system. I mean, I don't think you really wanna go to a treatment system to get that ground 1 foot.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be willing to do that.
You know,
I mean, if the board felt more comfortable with 3.5 feet, I can definitely adjust it another half foot if that's comfortable, rather than going the full foot.
They could go to a full treatment system, and then they'll have an even smaller.
reduction of fee.
Go to the bottom of the sand hill.
Yeah, if they go to a bottom sand fill, but then the whole cost is the annual
I know, the
contract,
cost is a
yeah.
different thing, but.
If we had wells around us, I would probably agree that, yes, we should do
I
that.
know.
And then I was looking at the retaining wall, I think Edward had a note on it, the block on this one.
Yep.
Is you still gonna have the 5 foot overdig and then that 28-inch block?
We're not
To
sure
fit?
which blocks they're gonna use, so it all depends on what guys buy, so if they use the waste block, I don't really mind losing a little bit of the overdig to have a wall. To me, the overdig's not really used
But
anymore.
we'd have to grant a variance for that, down to 3.5 at the time?
Yeah,
If you're gonna
it'd
use
be at
that
the
block?
time, or probably after the fact, if this is what they use for the wall, so now this is my overdig size, and I'd just list it right on the as-built for you.
Yeah, cause on your wall elevations, you're showing 3 block, it looks like a J&R block to me, which is 18 inches tall, so that would actually be 4.5 feet.
Yeah, or they could be
Yep.
the smaller tech blocks, it depends on what they use, the
What?
12-inch, and then they'd just be stepping it back a little bit, so by the time they get to the top, there might only be 3.5 feet of overdig, by the time they step it back. Or if they use the big waste blocks, I know one guy was talking about pouring a wall, so it'd only be 6 inches, so then we'd still have the overdig there, the footing would be underneath, so. Yeah, there's just no more room to move anything, unfortunately.
Right.
So you're not going with a ready rock precast?
It depend on what they have, and if that's what they install, then I'll just come back to the board and ask for on the as-built.
No, but that's what's called for on the detail, that's why I.
Or other, so, or it says or other equal, so a lot of guys will pick whatever they can find. I know a lot of guys have been using the waste blocks on these because they're cheaper, they're ugly, but they're just cheaper to do, and no one wants to pay for these walls, so.
Yeah.
I mean, a poured wall would be the way to go.
Is there anyone here to speak about this one? I see no one. Yeah, so I guess my main holdup is still that variance without to the water table without, I mean, I really understand why you want it,
Yep.
but there's probably everyone else in this neighborhood that's gonna want it.
Yep. That's, I mean, all these are gonna fall in the
I-
same type of issue.
Don't know if we really
I
wanna,
don't know if we have we given them down there either?
not you, like I said, I remember one in Parkhurst we did, and they put a treatment system in. It was
Right.
close to the pond,
Yeah.
and we made them do a treatment.
Well, this
This is
is-
outside, this isn't in a zone A, or it's,
No.
no, so you're not,
It's just another one that reminds me that in a perfect world, we just have sewer down there. Everything pumped out of there.
and you don't think there's any way to raise it that foot without doing the four-sided wall? It's just too
No,
high
cause
up.
I wouldn't be able to grade it. You can see my grading, my 60's right there in the middle of the stairs behind the house. So I mean, they're already losing a little bit of their tread there. I don't really know how else to grade it in.
But you could probably almost do a three-sided, you could almost leave that one without the shed, or would bury the shed.
I'd bury that's the entrance of the shed, so they wouldn't be able to use the door unless I put a wall there. And it's on unfortunately, it's on a 12-inch thick concrete pad, so that's why I didn't kind of put the tanks over that way. And there's a huge rock in between that tree and the house sticking out of the ground.
What's your opinion on this one?
It sounds like it's just aesthetics, right?
Well, it's the cost of going to four-sided wall. I mean,
Cost, too.
it's a big difference, I can tell you, just from the cost and the time it takes to do a four-sided wall and work your way out and put everything over the wall, and you leave an opening to get in and work your way backwards. Then you can't get back in to loam it, because you can't reach, you can't go into somebody else's property.
Right.
There's no room to work here.
Yeah, it would
So
be
you're
great if
working
the
from
guy right
inside
behind us.
out.
Yeah, if the guy right behind us is doing his right now, it'd be perfect, and we just have a wall on the
It's,
property line.
it's very complicated. I've done several four-sided walls myself, several of them, and they're very complicated. Especially when you try to leave a piece out, you almost have to put the wall all together and then take it back apart to get back in,
Yep.
and put it back together, because it doesn't fit right. It's
Because they
difficult.
all settled, yeah.
It's not easy to do.
Well, then,
But-
you know, have we allowed anyone else to do it? I don't know. if
I
we
can't think of any without,
want any-
what the hell about the treatment's the only one I'm popping in my head since I've.
Yeah, I mean, I know this one here you didn't because they have a well, so they couldn't ask for it.
Right, yeah, obviously with any with the wells
Yeah,
or
we just don't
any
happen to have any
variances to
wells. Everyone
the
around
pond
us
or
is
well, it's not
underwater.
even an option.
Yep.
It's only the ones.
I guess my advice would be, just lose the shed. I don't know how valuable that is. That way you could have a longer, thinner field. And that way, what you were saying, you could pull it further away from the house because it would be thinner.
Yep.
I know, I mean, I don't know how valuable that shed is, but.
Yeah, that'd be my option. If you don't grant the variance, that's probably what I'd go back to them and say, let's lose the shed and continue the wall right up to the property line, and
You could still do the,
You'd
you
probably still
wouldn't
do a
have to do the
a two-sided
four-sided
wall,
because it would
but-
be longer and narrower and you
Yeah.
could still have room to grade it up.
Yep.
It would be cheaper to remove all that concrete too than doing the rest of the wall, right?
Than doing a four-sided
Yes.
wall.
To do the
Yeah,
four-sided
absolutely,
wall.
Four-sided wall's very
Yeah.
expensive.
Yes.
Very,
So,
very
yeah,
time
I
consuming.
tend to lean that way. I
Okay.
think.
But I just think there's gonna be so many and we.
Oh, yeah,
normally-
no, I don't want you to set a precedent on my behalf. I'm just here
Set-
for my client, so if I don't ask for it, I don't
Right.
ask for it. I ask for it, you don't wanna grant it, that's fine. I'll figure out how to
Again,
fit it in.
if you wanna do a
Yeah.
treatment tank or something to go
Yeah,
up
and
to
I'll
it.
talk to them about that too, that's their other option, is go to a
I
bottomless
know
sand
we've
filter.
done any option on that, on you, Edward? I know before we've let this go, but we made them put in a treatment system to go to that extra foot.
Right.
Yeah, that is a common thing in sense of
Yep.
that, but I think, in that case, I think the treatment system would be more costly than getting rid of the shed.
Right.
And just reconfiguring the field.
Yep, I would agree with
But
that.
in a situation where there was no other option, then yes, I would recommend the treatment over. But in this situation, there is another option, I believe.
So if we're looking for not allowing that option, is something you wanna resubmit, or do you?
If you just wanna deny the variance, that one variance, that's fine, I'm still gonna need all the other ones. I can't really move stuff too much, and the tank's still gonna stay there, I'm still gonna need the 7 foot from the property line. It'll just be removing the groundwater variance, and then I'll submit revised plans showing that to you.
So we'll approve it just without that,
Yep, per revised plans.
per revised plan, showing you're a foot higher, and then, whatever way you go, you'd have to go to a four-sided wall, if that's what you
Yeah,
wanted.
I'll
or
talk to the
remove
client, see what,
shed.
if they're insistent on keeping that shed, then we'll go to a 4-sided wall. If they wanna lose the shed, then we'll take Ed's advice, we'll make it long and skinny and squeeze it along the back line, and.
And you won't be affecting anybody else's well, so we won't need any
Nope,
variances.
there's no
We
one,
won't have to
there's
come
no one
back.
else I'm affecting, I'll make sure I'm 100 feet from that wall behind me, that's the only other one that's near us.
Okay. You okay with that, Ed? So, he doesn't.
Yeah, cause
Yeah,
10 more feet will buy me that narrowness that I probably need, cause I'm 110 from their well right now, so.
Then you might be able to sneak by there to actually do the system, which is
Yep.
gonna be huge. If you can get down that edge and reach all the way across, it's actually gonna save them money.
No problem.
All right, so we're gonna make a motion.
You wanna make it, or you want me to?
I got it. I make a motion to approve the septic system upgrade at 23rd Ave with 9 variances, and we're not approving the variance for the separation of high groundwater table from 4 to 3. And
Submit a new plan.
Jamie, Daniel will submit a new plan with changes based on what the homeowner decides, whether it'll be 4-sided wall, walls all around, or if it'll just be a small reconfiguration of the system, removing the shed.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Bob Mullins. I am here to request local upgrade approvals.
The next on the agenda is 13 Woodland Drive. Meet with Outback Engineering to discuss local upgrade requests.
For 13 Woodland, and it has to do with the required setback between the leaching field and the surface water supply from 400 feet to 350. And that's Long Pond, and can't really move that. The lot's very small, don't have a whole lot of room there. And that relates to the second request being reduction of the required number of deep holes for the perk test. Again, due to how tight the small front lot is.
You want Outback's payroll now? Are you the representing engineer?
Mostly the homeowner. I brought them the job, so.
Is this the same one you were here before?
No, I was
No.
here for Barberry.
That's what it was, okay.
And we have that one resolved.
We have that one resolved. He actually did it today. I could text you a picture of the water line being opened and exposed, and then he put Schedule 40 on it. Mike took many pictures. I just happen to have one of the open trench.
And what is the flow on this one? I guess that's my, gonna note.
One bedroom. Oh, 1 bedroom?
Can you refer to this one, Edward, seeing it was your note on the bedroom? Two bedroom is the minimum we can design for?
Yeah, Title V allows for, the minimum design is 330 gallons per day. They do allow 220 gallons per day with a deed restriction. They do not allow 110 gallons per day. As far as I'm concerned, I think I actually
Yeah, we
have
do.
the actual regulation there.
You copied the reg and it's. I
Yeah,
have that
it's in
front
your
of me.
notes, and it says, the minimum is 220 gallons per day.
So the system may be designed for flows of not less than 220 gallons per day if a deed restriction is essentially identical.
But as far as the two local upgrade requests, yeah, I believe he's putting it as far away as possible. Obviously, the 400 feet is not obtainable, but you put it at one end of the lot, so you're doing the best you can. And it is a very small field, so there is no reason to do a second test pit. So I think both of those are reasonable.
But what would we do with this plan if this one isn't designed for the 220? It's only designed for 137 gallons design. So they would have to resubmit a new plan.
Yeah, I mean, I realize that it's only one bedroom, but that's what Title V says. It's not,
Negotiable, it's not.
yeah, I don't see how it is. I mean, it's not something,
Even with the deed restriction.
yeah, it will not something this board can approve. I mean, you're allowed to do so many local upgrades approval, but a reduction in flow, I don't believe is one of those. And like I said, it's pretty clear with the way it says it there in Title V that
this is the first
it's to 220.
No, because I don't think anybody has submitted one to us
Right.
before, so I don't.
And, you know, the reason they do that is, you know, it's to the benefit of the homeowner, because a system of 220 gallons will just last longer, you know, so even though, you know, when we can go from 137 to 220, it's considerable, like, it's just when the systems are that small, they tend not to last very long. And I think that's the reason they do it.
So how would they even get, they would have to remove the existing shed probably and add the 2 chambers on that side?
So possibly.
Because well, there's still enough room to come closer to the well. Is there anyone else here to talk on this one? Is the butters? I see no one.
Should probably reconfigure the chambers to put the D-box on the other side, maybe keep the shed.
Will they affect anyone else by making the system bigger, Edward, as far as having to re-notify butters and have to come back to a meeting? Or is this something we could approve, just redesigning it and submitting a new plan?
Yeah, like I said, I
Pending.
think the location is fine as long as it's just expanded somewhat, and like you said, there's enough room there for,
You get 140 to that well, 132 to this well.
yeah. So.
I have no other issues.
No, neither do I, and I think we're good with
Make a
tonight.
motion on just making it.
contingent upon, yeah. Make a motion to approve subsurface sewage disposal system upgrade at 13 Woodland Drive with 2 variances, with one caveat that we have a revised plan expanding the system from 137 gallons a day to 220. And revised plans is submitted to the board, our agent.
Second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, just let them know, or you're gonna deal with Outback and just have them send a new one over? Okay.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, process of betterment approval, 23rd Avenue, in the amount of $33,965. You okay with this one, Chris?
Doing the right thing. Yeah.
Read it.
Anything's crazy. Nothing unusual, right? Standard.
Standard.
Those who wish to speak, please, get to microphone, if you're not going to speak, it's okay.
I make a motion to approve the process of betterment approval in the amount of $33,965.00
The address.
For 23rd Ave.
Second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sign it too, right?
Next on the agenda, nomination of the Inspector of Animals.
And assistant.
We have to nominate both of them first, I believe. You
Yeah.
have this one?
Yeah, I think we just make a motion to nominate them and vote on it, right? If there's
And I
nothing
believe we have to do
specific.
both of them, because we
Yeah.
have two
Both of them individually, yep.
individual. And these are, I believe, both of our current animal
Yes.
inspectors, so we're just renewing
So it's just a renewal, yeah.
of their license.
And I have no issue with either one of them. They've been doing a great job. Actually, they think Bob,
They're both, yeah, so we'd like to both.
they
So
think
one,
Bob in mind.
no. No, he should be,
I think he's good with it too, but,
yeah, and they need to be renominated, so I don't think it's something we could hold on.
right, because of the MDR applications and their licenses.
Yeah.
Alright, I make a motion to nominate, Jared Darling, Inspector of Animals for the town of Lakeville.
Want to say the year?
Oh,
May,
for the period of May 1st, 2020 through April 30th of 2021.
second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to nominate Assistant Inspector of Animals Lisa Podilski for the period of May 1st, 2020 through April 30th of 2021.
Second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that is it under the new business. We're going to go down to old business. This was continued, tabled from March 4th, 2020, 57 Long Point Road. Continued discussion with Stantec Engineering to discuss local upgrade requests. You doing?
Hello, I'm Kevin Klein with Stantec. Got Bill Pizzoni with Dave Pitney and John Del Piscoli here with me.
How you doing?
Nice to see you guys again.
How you doing, guys?
Thank you for having the meeting.
The marathon.
Yeah. We're gonna continue. I hope to keep trying. This is a public health issue.
Full agenda.
Notify, yeah.
Just with issues, it's amazing how life has changed in 2 weeks, isn't it? Just
Yes,
never
dramatically.
seen anything like it.
So we've been going back and forth for the past several months on this project. We've got to the last updated report on it. Have you reviewed this one now?
I
And
have.
what's the feeling?
I've only got 3 minor comments.
Okay, want to start there, I guess?
Conditions number 2.
Okay,
You've got second line with number of bedrooms. It's 132 or 2 bedrooms per unit,
okay, so we should,
whichever, yeah, put in a number.
okay, so put in 132. I agree with that. Does everybody agree with that one?
Yeah.
Condition number 7, you're requiring an operation and maintenance manual be submitted within 30 days of the permit. That was in the second ACO from the DEP. The first one had the operation and maintenance manual submitted prior to operation, which is when it's really finalized. The second one had it within 30 days of the ACO because it was already operating. We've already given you a draft. What we'd like this changed is just a final operation and maintenance manual prior to operation of the system, or even 30 days prior to operation of the system, but not right now. So that if we do make any little tweaks along the lines, it's all caught there.
Because
Just-
even with the piloting approval from the DEP, they might have something that would
They're
have to
gonna
be in
require an
that
operation
anyway.
maintenance manual before we put it into operation. So,
So it would make sense.
yeah,
It would more parallel them, which,
yeah. As opposed to giving you, we've already given you one, a draft one, and to give you another one in 30 days, and then to have to change it again, the darn thing's 6 inches thick.
Right,
Oh.
makes sense.
Any comment on that, Edward?
No, it makes sense.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So then can I suggest that that be changed to 30 days prior to issuance of a certificate of compliance?
That's fine. Yep,
So you'll have to keep track of when you're thinking you're gonna need a
Absolutely.
certificate of compliance and make sure it's
yep.
30 days prior to. I don't want that to hold up and the same day you're looking for both. If it's
We
in
will,
this,
we will make sure we get that to
Is that
you
acceptable?
30 days
Yes,
prior.
Because Kevin, just for the board's benefit, Kevin has been retained on, as an advisor on the construction side too, so he'll be keeping track of these critical dates and submissions. So it's not just for getting the permits, it's also for the ongoing construction. So I'll leave it in Kevin's hands to follow up with that.
Yeah,
so 30 days prior to.
yes. And what that also gets us, the ability to figure out a new startup procedure and get that to you, so you have that 30 days prior to, and your engineers looked at it, we've looked at it, and everyone's happy with it. We can get the thing up and running. And then the last comment I had, well, actually, I'll say there's two more. 14C, I just wanted to make sure, it says the treated effluent discharge will be maintained at the current nitrogen annual loading and shall not exceed 480 pounds per year. We're fine with the 480, we're fine with the 19. Just wanted to make sure that everyone's aware that the current was what it has been, not what it is today without a building there.
Okay, yeah, makes
Okay.
sense.
I mean, there's no loading because there's nothing
Right,
there.
Yes.
there's nothing there now.
So should we change anything in that wording, or is that?
Well, can we,
Just the
Or
previous
or at
nitrogen?
at the previously approved level, or just,
do we have a number for that?
yeah, it's 480 pounds.
Yeah, it's just the wording.
That's all fine,
It's
it's
just,
just
it says
the,
All right,
current.
so why don't
because
we
currently there's no
cross
building.
out then at the current nitrogen annual loading and just leave it shall not exceed 480 pounds per year?
Sounds
that's,
good.
yeah.
Okay.
That works.
And then the last one that we had was number 18. And I had just two things on that, and that's the bond. The two are that you're asking for 100, we respectfully request 66. So it's 1,000 per unit. And then the other part of it that we want to talk about is that you're looking for the bond prior to the start of construction. And we'd like that to be prior to occupancy, because we have nothing going through it until we get an occupancy or a certificate of compliance.
Maybe tie it into the certificate of compliance, so everything kind of, it might be simpler than having all these different,
Well, we'll discuss one of them, I guess, at a time. We'll go with, when it's issued first. I believe I discussed that with Ed also earlier. Was there?
Yeah, and I was okay with that. I think it's just, it got changed somehow.
Okay, so
When-
we'll
when
change
he-
that to
He put wording in, I think he overlapped my wording, so I didn't.
prior to issuance of a certificate of compliance?
Yeah, because everything's already, it's not, we're not worried about them not doing the system.
Right, right.
We want it for
built.
the people that are moving in, that there's a backup.
Okay.
Once-
because that's when it'd be, the public would
Right,
be at
yeah,
risk.
yeah. I
There's
know,
no
I
risk.
think we
I think
discussed this at the
that,
last
yeah.
meeting.
We did,
So,
and you
Yep.
conceptually, I think you agreed with that,
Yeah,
but
so,
sometimes the words, get a
Yep.
little,
so I guess now the big question is the 100 to 66. I don't know if Edward has the most knowledge on that, because this number came from Martin Edge. and-
Correct. And based on it's not a simple system. And based on that, and it is getting older, I mean, it's fairly new, but those are tunnel tanks, and there are issues with tunnel tanks over time. They do tend to separate. That was one of the issues there, because if something like that happened, we would want to fix it immediately, because obviously that's, one, the proximity to the pond, and as well as, it's, it's not the effluent, it's got a lot more concentration in the tank. So that was the priority. The main thing would be those tanks in the area, both because of the location and because they are tunnel tanks. The thinking was to get them replaced, and they're not cheap tanks either. So if they do come apart, and all the mechanisms inside to get that all replaced, we were given that price of, it would be around $100,000.
So let's,
If I could just say something, normally what we would do, because ultimately we're anticipating it's gonna go to condominium, and that's what you're concerned about, because it's not one owner there, is that we put in an amount up front, usually have each of the homeowners, when they buy a unit, reimburse the $1,000, but also we have built into the condo documents that not only is there a reserve for the roofs and all of that, there's a reserve for the system. So that'll be being funded every year by every unit as time goes on. So there'll be overrun.
Bill, what I'd like to do to make
pretty
it easier for the board and for the chairman and for the agent and everything else, yeah, obviously I'd like to see it at 66, but what I'd be willing to do is, I'll make it 99. And the reason for that is it's 1,500 a unit, keep it simple. And if you could live with that, I'd just like to move on with it. And that gives you, just to keep the math so it
Round
might.
numbers for each.
It's just so much simpler.
For each home, that does make it easier.
And I'm willing to do that. You've been very good to work with. I don't want to put you in a tough spot on this, or you. I'll do it. And to show you the kind of person I am, I'll do it. And I'm, obviously my side feels differently, but I'm the person that's writing the check, so I will do it. You've been very good to work with. You've gone out on a limb a little bit here. I appreciate that. This is my way of reciprocating.
What that'll change is the amount of the reserve that they're paying in every month after they buy in. Because they're gonna analyze it and figure out what they're really gonna need for replacement on a 20.
But we're going to collect 1,500 for a
Yeah, but
special reserve.
They don't care what we're collecting.
I
They
know,
wanna
but
just
I'm
make sure
telling
the
them,
bond's there.
just so you know, I'm gonna put the original 99 in, and then, I'm gonna collect from each individual. That will be, sink or sick funds for this bond, okay? Just,
I'm fine with it. It's
I wanna give you the,
amount. Again, it came from them, and
I understand that, and Mr. Chairman, you've been, like I
like
say, I mean, we're all working together. This is uncharted territory for everybody. I understand that we were kind of layered on here because of the DEP stepping away a little bit. I want to give the board comfort and be, a team player here. So if that's amenable to you, I'd like you to accept that as a very minor compromise.
And Mr. Chair, what I would say is that, at this time, we can require that the security be in the form of a bond, but you can always come back and ask for an amendment to that if there's some other arrangement that provides the same protection for the board.
Right.
So, if you end up having this reserve fund and you go to condominiums and that reserve fund is untouchable, I think we could come back and we could amend this to make language relative to the reserve fund rather than the bond.
I look forward to working, going forward. We obviously, I just want the board to be comfortable that we're gonna do everything we say we're gonna do, and there's not gonna be any burden put on the town of Lakeville or the taxpayers of Lakeville. And public health will never be compromised. So that's what I'm gonna do for you. And and for the public. So I appreciate your comments, Counselor, on that. I think that's worthy, let's get it further along and we can revisit it, perhaps.
Okay, so we'll make them two changes
So 99,000 there.
Yeah.
and do so the prior to construction at
Issue of a certificate.
issue a certificate of compliance. Okay. And also, I guess to Edward, was the monitoring wells testing added in here somewhere? Was that?
Yes, it's,
I know we discussed that this morning.
No, it's not in here.
That was one of the items that came from Nick
Oh,
Laney.
I'm sorry, it
It
is.
is, it's E,
We did a
All five
couple
monitoring,
changes
yeah.
today. That was,
it's in 14E.
yeah, E,
14A.
E.
Yep, that's fine.
okay, so we agree to that.
Are there 5 monitoring wells or 4?
I think there's one existing. Or is that?
That's
nothing?
great. There's,
Can we look in the plan and specify? Should have
I didn't bring the plan in with me.
this one
Just
here.
say all on site, not monitoring wells.
Well, no, it's nice to know if there's 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Is it this one here?
Worded
Yep.
correctly.
I was gonna say, all that are on the site, but you wanna make
Got it
sure.
right here?
Yeah,
Is this one your question?
I'd rather have a number.
I'd rather have them.
That's not a monitoring well, that's an irrigation well.
Okay,
There's 1, 2,
3,
3,
4.
and 4. Yeah, this one's going away because it's getting destroyed.
This one says to remain though.
Yeah, you're not gonna wanna it's right in the leach field. That's why we're replacing it with 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay, but it's just on, so just rather than saying to remain, you want to say to be removed?
Yes, yep.
Okay. I wasn't aware of that.
And, yeah.
But we're not leaving the one in the leach field? I
Not
know
the
we
one right
discussed
in-
this in previous meetings.
No, we had moved it down, it's immediately down gradient because we were getting, it's right there on that leach field. And when we do the work on it, it's gonna, and I'm not even sure it's still there. It was there, and that was with monitoring well originally, before we started the system, but then we didn't have monitoring. So we put two down gradient of the, of building B,
Yeah,
one that's existing, those are 2 new wells. One that's existing up by the tanks, and one that's existing over near the, closer to the entrance.
But that slope there, if you look at that, I mean, you have one over here which covers this side, you have one over here that covers this side, but then you really don't have anything on this side here, towards the cranberry bog.
Just this, with groundwater mainly flowing in this direction.
You don't think anything's going this way?
I don't think so. And we don't have property to really get over to here, with it sloping off the hill.
You couldn't just put it right there? Like just move it about 10 feet
We could
back?
add another one off here.
Yeah.
It's just, typically, you don't want it that close
I agree.
to the leach field,
Yeah, I agree.
which is why we.
But given your separation, I can see if you had a small
Yeah.
separation to groundwater, you weren't that close, but given you have a decent vertical separation, by the time it gets down there and goes to the monitoring well, it would have sufficient travel.
Sure. Yeah, put in 5 and we'll relocate, because I think that one that's right on the leach field, I'm fairly sure that one is not there right now.
Yeah, and I can see why you wouldn't want it in the leach field. That
Yeah.
makes perfect sense.
yeah, because we discussed that, I know. we
Yep.
Okay.
And when Nick Laney had brought up adding these, he didn't really say where, we didn't get that involved, he just said he wanted more added, so. And that covers the whole site as far as.
Pretty much,
Yeah,
yeah,
'cause-
it's just that one side on the cranberry bog side that, I thought that was covering it, but, so as long as they have something there, it's sufficient.
So it would still be 5, we agree on that?
Sure.
Okay. So there's 2 existing, you're adding 3.
We were adding 3.
Anything else on the agreement part of it?
I have a few things. So on page 3, right under the heading decision, we just want to fill in the date of March 18th, 2020. And on page 5, we need an email address for where notices are going to be sent to the town.
That would be ECULLEN@LakevilleMA.org.
Okay. And then one last thing, which I think may require some discussion, and that is the status of the lawsuit involving the city of New Bedford and the ZBA. We want to have the issuance of the approval made contingent upon final dismissal of that lawsuit.
Except can we go to the piloting program if this isn't issued? And, because I can't tell you, they've been wrestling with pandemic over there, like
Sure,
most
sure.
communities.
Yeah.
And he called me Monday and said, look, we haven't really had a chance to talk about it again.
Okay.
And he said, I don't know when we're gonna get to talk about it again. But we're close with the agreement that I had sent over and I shared with you, which there really isn't much in it, other than what you guys already have.
Would that, it shouldn't stop it from the state taking, because we approved it, contingent just on a separate item. I mean, shouldn't you be
I
able to
mean,
go
all
forward?
these permits are contingent on it, because we can't occupy it until we get rid of that ZBA suit. So I think you're covered anyhow.
But my concern, I just don't want to make another decision of approval and have them appeal our decision, and then we're in another legal dispute with them through the Board of Health, not the ZBA. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I think they'd be hard pressed to appeal here where they've never sent anything to this board, never showed up to a hearing, and only out of courtesy, you guys have been making sure that it's moving along. I think they're protected with the ZBA appeal. You know, I mean, you know as well as I do, that's probably most important because we can never occupy
That's correct.
without it.
Well, the pilot program doesn't say that you won't accept it with a contingency, right? As long as it's
I don't
approved.
know, and I don't wanna, I defer to the engineers on that, on whether DEP would
It says it's
not
approved, right?
work on the pilot program and approve it with that contingency in the permit.
I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't wanna take the
I mean,
chance.
but they've said that we need your approval first.
Yeah, they are.
Your
We
We
variance.
approved it,
So
it's
it's
just
approved.
Yeah,
With a
approved. It's
contingency.
just contingent on getting rid of that decision.
But, yeah, but like I'm saying, it's already contingent on that.
Right.
Outside of this, the less permits that have that in it, from my perspective, the better.
Right.
As long as there's one that's protecting the town, which is that one, which is the ZBA, I think you're okay.
That's the last step.
Well, I think it's the board's understanding that your settlement with New Bedford and with Taunton would foreclose them from being able to appeal this as well.
True.
Right, and so I think what the board's concern is that they don't want to issue a decision and then
Without their decision.
end up in court not only on the ZBA issues, but also on the septic issues.
That's why, I even wanted to hold off until we had that, but obviously, it's not coming and with everything going on, I understand that. I know you want to go to the state for
I'm okay
approval.
with it in there. I just don't like multiple documents saying things are contingent on one another out there because.
Well, Taunton, just so you know, when they came out, Taunton came out with New Bedford, the day they
Right,
came,
yeah.
I was there.
Yeah.
And they were all on the same page, and then the woman in New Bedford who runs the water department or something has been out on maternity leave for like 6 months, all right? And that threw a cog in the wheel, and then, it was always some delay of something. It was first the maternity leave, now it's this, and, and we've been caught in that. We've been told by everybody involved, there's no issue, all right, including their engineer. So I don't, we just haven't got the piece of paper. I'm very confident we'll have it shortly. But whatever you guys, you're the lawyers, whatever you think.
I guess I would refer to town council on that, Greg. I mean, I think I would feel more comfortable contingent upon. I don't like making approval, seeing it's already appealed. But if,
So again, the concern is that, we don't want to have the town end up tied up in court over this. So, the other thing we could do, if you're concerned about not being able to submit this to DEP, is we can put a clause in here that you agree to indemnify and defend the town should there be any appeal of the decision.
You're okay with that? Yeah, okay.
I would anyway, I'd be the one.
For the building.
Well, exactly.
They do have their
We
own.
would likely undertake a passive defense anyway.
Yeah.
But at least it gives you some comfort that, if there is an appeal, it's not going to expose the town to financial
that's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
cost.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, for the record, there's a very strong argument, they don't even have standing in the whole thing to begin with, all right? So, we don't want to go there, we're trying to do this
Amicably.
Yeah.
but if we ever did get there for some reason, I think it would go out in summary judgment. I just don't want to do that because that sends bad mojo, and I'd rather just, so that's where we are. We've done the research, so.
But that language you suggest.
I'm very confident with what your town council just gave you.
Okay, so we'll add a condition 24.
Yep.
24, the applicant will indemnify and defend the town with respect to any appeal of this decision. Okay?
Well, I don't want to defend for a neighbor, but
Any appeal of this decision by the city of New Bedford?
It's up to you. I mean, frankly, you know,
We're gonna
what
defend
we,
you for.
what
We're gonna
we
defend it
typically
anyhow, okay.
advise is that,
I'd leave it the way you wrote it, I'll defend it against anybody, I don't
Okay.
care who it is.
If it's appealed, yeah.
we are in essence, because your bill's going to be a lot less than.
well, that's right, and we're not gonna do anything. You know, we're gonna send a letter to the court saying, we defer to them.
Right.
So, but at least this gives the board some
Okay.
comfort.
I'm fine
And-
with that.
That's fine.
And we have no reason to expect that there is going to be an appeal, because like you said,
They already
no one
have
has
an
appeared here to object to this proceeding in any way.
Right, and for over the 3 months.
Well, I've already worked with the one neighbor, and they're very comfortable with the project.
And I see no abutters here, just for the record.
I saw a couple of them out at the site when I went out beforehand. They were
Yeah.
walking the property.
There's a lot of people out there.
I said,
They love
"Hey,
it
did you
out
see the
there
sign?"
on Point Road.
I drove through there on my way here too. I saw a lot of cars out in the bogs and people going out to Betty's Neck. I didn't see any up on the property that time.
I actually,
Oh, they were actually
this weekend,
walkers.
I had to ask some younger adults to leave. So, you know, I didn't know if they were fiddling with the equipment or what, but, you know, I just don't want, you know.
Is there anything
We're all
else?
set.
No, if there's nothing else, I have a proposed motion.
I had one thing as far
Okay.
as the new construction versus, pre-existing non-conforming. Were we gonna include that in this, or was that gonna be a separate thing, just to clarify that it's, that we. what
We
filed
can
is that we
include-
find pre-existing non-conforming?
We didn't address that in the decision, but we can if you think it needs
I
to
didn't know.
be.
That was one thing. I know this is the variance and that doesn't fall under a variance,
Right.
but.
You're right, I guess there's a lot of gray area on this.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked repeatedly on opinions, some.
Right.
I think what's mainly it's considered under is a facility, is where it was all tied into one.
No, I didn't wanna argue it. I just.
Right.
It was just a matter of, are we putting it in writing anywhere?
Yeah. So we didn't put it in writing, you know, in my opinion, the board has made the proper findings that the variance criteria are met. I think that covers this issue of whether it's new construction
Right.
or pre-existing use. And I think sort of trying to address too many of those finer points might call some of this into question, and I think it's better left the way that it is.
Right, okay.
I mean, obviously it was their pre-existing non-conforming.
Yeah.
They've reduced it. There's arguments both ways, if it's new, if it's not. From what I've researched, it's so,
Oh, no, I was just thinking more
Right.
along the lines of, like, everything we have done to show what we have done,
Right.
to justify where we're going, you know what I mean? That's the only reason I'm
Right.
bringing it up.
Yeah, and I, you know, in my opinion, your record demonstrates that, and, you know, demonstrates that, you know, to the extent that someone might argue, well, you've never given a variance for new construction before. I think there's enough in the record for you to say that we've never had a situation like this before. And, you know, for future applicants who might come in and point to this as precedent, you know, they'd have to make a compelling case that they're in the same position, which is, you know, having a relatively new system that cost more than $1 million to install, having all of these conditions that are put into place, and the fact that it's an innovative alternative system with less flow than was there before. Yes,
I agree with all that.
Okay.
I just wasn't, I wanted to make sure, should we have it or not, that's all.
yeah, I talked back and forth with a couple times, and
Yeah.
I kinda came under saying it's probably
Think-
better.
yeah,
We're,
Because it's
everything's-
legal
we're
either way,
adequate.
whether it
We've
is
done
or
what we
isn't.
need to do.
It's-
everything is adequate, and again, you know, it's my opinion that this is a unique circumstance that you are highly unlikely to encounter again.
It is quite unique.
So that's why it's not in there.
Yeah.
specifically, I mean,
All right, good. So,
Okay. All right, you want a motion? I wrote as slowly and as neatly as I possibly could, but if you can't.
it's a test, Greg. Lawyer's handwriting. No, and neat.
let me read it first and see if I,
I think of the first time I passed papers on a house. I was like, what does this say? What does this say? Always in a rush.
It's all right, our kids aren't even learning how to write.
Right. I know. Jeez. I said that,
Like passwords with characters.
Right,
I
exactly.
said that recently. I saw my youngest. I was like, her writing's atrocious. And I'm like, they don't teach, I'm like, she even taking cursive? They're like, oh, it's because they type everything.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
we were kids, we had the nuns. And
Just
they-
missed that.
I was a lefty, and I am a lefty, and they tried to make you write righty, you know? And you would just write the same sentences over and over and over. I mean, it was,
That happened to my mom. Same thing, she's lefty.
okay, I think I'm good with it. Everybody, any other questions on this project? Okay, I move that the board find that the criteria set forth in 310 CMR 15.410 have been met, and that the variance and change in use applications granted based on the facts and subject to the conditions set forth in the notice of decision, provided, however, that the approval will not take effect and no disposal system construction permit shall be issued unless and until the Department of Environmental Protection approves the system in accordance with 310 CMR 15.280 through 15.281.
Okay, so that's a motion, second?
Second.
And a vote.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll make the changes that we talked about. You'll print this out on the board's letterhead, and then you guys can just come in and sign it at some point.
Okay,
Okay?
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
talking about letters and writing, at the Wayside Inn, I don't know if you've ever been there, but we have it's a philanthropic endeavor that I'm involved with up in Sudbury, and we actually are doing a children's program to teach them how to write a postcard. People don't know what postcards anymore. Imagine that.
Yeah, how quick it changes.
I mean, it's,
Now, a quick question, has any of the removal of the system started, or everything's kind of at a standstill
no,
there?
no, we're doing the first building, and because there's there's a little bit export of material, they want to get the first foundation and backfill, and then go for the second, and we'll, and
Okay.
the foreman
Yeah,
up
because
there.
we definitely want to
Oh,
see
yeah,
that at
I've
time
made
of
that
removal.
abundantly clear.
Okay, we
All
want
the-
to see everything removed, make sure there's
Yes.
no,
Yes, I've made that abundantly
scum layer or
clear.
anything in that system.
Yeah, make sure nothing gets buried, yeah, it's all.
Okay,
All right,
The site is clean as
Not a
it is,
problem.
if you want it, you know, and I encourage you to drop by anytime.
thank you.
Yeah, well,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Sure.
So I had started to write some stuff here, but you can just ignore all that.
That is it, under old business, discuss any pending, thank you for that.
Oh, you're
Greg,
welcome.
Town council.
Thanks, Greg.
I think that you are fully protected here. Yeah.
I think that has been the longest approval since Thanksgiving, I think, we've
Yeah.
been dealing with that one, so that's good.
Yeah, these things can, I mean,
Yeah, since our
all the paper.
prior health agent left.
The research and stuff too, of going through the files and.
The only thing else is other pending items. I'd just like to maybe discuss a little on the next meetings. I know our next one's April 1st. I personally would like to continue to keep trying to have them unless the state mandates that we are not allowed. It's just as far as public health, notifying the coronavirus updates in town. If anybody has backed up septic systems or overflowing sewage in their yard that needs to be approved, I think it's imperative that they are heard at a meeting. It's just my opinion. I mean, I don't know how you feel on it, Chris?
I feel the same, and I think we'll probably see a slowdown a little bit too as people doing less and less stuff. I mean, to a degree, I think. I mean, I know
Yeah,
people
maybe
work
some
outside.
engineering companies will be shutting down and they might not even go on the agenda, but.
So.
I mean, people can still work outside.
Right. So if it gets to a point where either you're prevented from having meetings or you're not comfortable having meetings, the governor's directive now allows you to conduct these meetings by electronic means. So none of you have to be in the room anymore in order to have a meeting, as long as there is some way of broadcasting that meeting to the public or keeping a record of it. I am by no means a technical expert when it comes to something like this, but if you had let's say you had a telephone in this room, and each of the three of you called in to that telephone on a conference line, and then that audio were to be broadcast over cable television, that would satisfy the requirements of the open meeting law under the governor's order. So, there are ways that you can continue to meet without being in the same room. Likewise, you could have a setup like this, and rather than having applicants come to you, we could have them call in. Each of you has copies of these plans in front of you, so, you can be sitting in your houses or you can be sitting here. You don't necessarily have to be meeting face-to-face at this time.
Okay, now what about if we, like abutters that are notified or someone from the public that would want to speak on the property
Yeah.
or something we were discussing, how would that work?
So it would work the same way. And, again, you're gonna have to work with, town staff as to the logistics of this. But if you had a conference call number, you could put that number in your meeting notice. So then, just like you would be able to call in, any member of the public could call in as well. There might be other mechanisms, like our firm subscribed to a video conferencing app. And, we dial in to a number through our computers or our iPads, and we can see everybody else who's on the call. So there are a number of ways to make these meetings work if you can't meet in person.
And also, I think, Jose could probably, this is on Facebook Live right now.
Yeah.
People can comment, and he could be monitoring it and bring questions as they come to him, too.
We are working on this now, but not just for Board of Health meetings, but for all meetings.
For all meetings.
It's not obviously ready yet, but basically what
Yeah.
Greg had just said, we're trying our best to.
There's a lot of
to do
different
that.
things out there. I mean, I know I do them at my day job.
Yeah, so there are ways that you can make it work. So what I would suggest is that, at this time, I think the general directive is to try to keep business to the minimum amount that you have to do. But don't let the requirements that everyone be in the same room prevent you from doing business, particularly, if you have a situation where, someone has a failed septic system or an uninhabitable dwelling, or, if you have to make additional orders to respond to the virus, there are ways that you can do that.
The town has reached out to me in order to make that happen. And we have talked about using a conference call type software, whether it's video or just audio, and having everybody be virtual and dialing to that or log on to that if they're using their computers and cameras. So I know Lorraine and Maureen are working on making that happen.
Okay.
And then Lakeham would broadcast that on cable TV and on Facebook like we're doing right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and then, now the town hall is closed to the public?
Correct. Town hall is closed to the public, but we are still working, so you still can call in, you still can send us mail. We're not able to, you're not able to come in and fill out forms, but most of our forms are online. So I'd suggest going to our webpage, downloading the appropriate forms, filling them out, sending them in with whatever fee there is, and then we will accordingly send you the mail back for the approvals of those permits or whatever you're doing. So we are still operating,
And so you
just
still
no longer
call?
a face-to-face basis. So
Okay.
through call,
Yeah.
phone calls and mail is how we're operating, and as well emails.
Okay.
So-
Now, I just want to make sure people, how would they get, like, if they need a certificate of compliance, is that still able to get a certificate of compliance to people? Are they still able to get approved plans to start a septic system? I want to make sure there's still ways
Correct.
that,
Yeah, well, as you just approved some plans, those plans will get revised, sent to us, we'll review them,
And-
give him a phone call saying it's approved, and then stamp it, and then put it in the mail, send it back to him, so he will get that mail. If an installer wants to come in, he just has to call and say, hey, please send this to me, to my address. We will put that plan in the mail and send it to them. Everything can be done through mail, phone, and email. We just didn't see the need to have face-to-face things anymore. So it is somewhat of an inconvenience, but our goal is to stay open and serve the town of Lakeville, and that's how we determined the best way to do it was.
okay. And I'd like to still address the perk test. I know some towns are doing it. They still have been doing it. I would like to see them still go forward. I don't know.
Yeah, as of right now, we're still scheduling perk tests, we're still doing perk tests, we're
Correct.
still doing inspections for the fields and everything.
Because again, it's public health, so
yeah.
I don't see, you're outside with one engineer and one
Yeah.
operator in a closed machine and yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know why some
Best
towns
place
are
to social
canceling perk
distance.
tests.
Yeah.
I'm not in agreement with it.
And that's what you just said there, the main thing is social distancing.
Right,
It's-
that's-
In someone's backyard, there's 2 or 3 people there, we're usually
stand on
about 10
opposite
to
sides of the
15.
hole.
Yeah, we're usually 10 to 15 feet apart,
Right.
rather than the minimum of 6, so there's more than enough room to do it. We're still doing it,
So what-
until we're told we can't do it.
Right.
We plan to.
Right,
plan
if the
to
state
continue.
says you can, I totally understand that. That's the state's decision, but as far as the towns on the Board of Health, I would definitely like to see that going forward.
I would like to mention one thing, though, the rabies clinic that we had, that has been canceled, simply because the amount of people.
Okay, and what was the
crowds.
date on that? That was this Saturday?
Yes.
So the rabies clinic has been canceled.
It has been canceled.
I had April
And
top of my head.
that's on our website. It's also at the sign has been taken down in front of the animal shelter as well. That is no longer happening because,
Yeah,
like I
anyone that
said,
was on email updates, I believe it was in that,
Okay.
the recent update about Corona town specific stuff, I believe that cancellation was in there
Okay.
too.
just to,
Okay. And obviously, I think probably everyone knows by now that the restaurants in town are closed except for takeout, and all the bars are closed in town
correct.
per state order. And I believe I've heard today that the daycares will be closing as of Monday per
Yep.
state order.
Correct. That was just today that they ordered that.
All the daycares will be closed as of Monday. I believe, did they put a date on it? Was it 2 weeks? I didn't, this just happened before the meeting, so I didn't read the update.
For school closings, they're April 7th is the, so they would be going to school April
Oh, yeah,
8th
probably
as
2
of right
weeks.
now until another determination is made.
Okay.
So whenever they announce it to that 7th, it'll probably be the same thing for the daycare, right? It'll go
Correct.
right from the school, and they'll update it as it gets closer to
And
that
that could
date.
change
That could
daily,
change.
right,
That could
it's-
change, that could've changed while we were sitting here.
Right. Okay. Anything else on the coronavirus as far as that? I think that clarifies everything on that. Anything else, anyone?
No, I had one question, you guys already answered it.
Want to make a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.